All right, so Destiny was canvassing in Georgia, doing his whole, activist thing, whatever. And this one Trump supporting lady pulled him to the side. She was looking for young canvassers to interrogate and to debate. And somehow she stumbled upon this guy, who, if I saw him in the street, I probably would think he's not going to be an internet debate lord. That's a millionaire. If you saw him with this shirt on, this huge ass mask, this little gnome guy, you probably wouldn't think that. But I want to kind of go through this because this is very relatable to my experiences talking to people like her.
Hey, good evening, everybody. It's Reggie here, and I'm over in South Columbus, my old stomping grounds. And just let me tell you, I'm at my mom's house. Was unloading some Christmas stuff as we decorate, and saw these two young, awesome people walking down the street. But just looked a little out of place in South Columbus. I mean, in my old neighborhood, I'm a minority. I love my neighbors; they're awesome people. But I did stop these two young folks and asked them what they were doing.
This is so full of dog whistling; it's insane. And by the way, she posted on her Facebook after this interaction that she was trying to occupy the canvassers until the sun went down so they could no longer knock on doors. She's evil.
This neighborhood, which was a very interesting conversation ensued. So I asked them if I could interview them. So get ready for a treat. We're going to talk, and we're going to keep it cool and honest. So let me turn this camera around and introduce these two young folks. All right, hello.
My name is Steven.
Hi, Steven.
Hi, I'm Erin.
Steven and Aaron. Steven, where are you from?
I'm from California.
And what are you two guys doing out here in South Columbus up and down this street?
She's probably thinking already, look at this Californian soy boy coming over to vote liberal. George Soros probably paid for his ticket over.
We're down here knocking on doors, making sure that people are aware that there's a runoff election on the 5th, and to make sure that people have already voted, or to make sure they have a plan to vote, and then offering signs in support of John Ossoff or Reverend Warnock in the yards if they're interested.
So when you're knocking on doors, you're you have a list of specific Democrat, registered Democrat voters.
Yeah.
Right. And so what has been the
You can always tell when somebody is a really far-right Trump supporter because they say Democrat voters. They don't say Democratic voters. That's the first dog whistly thing you could hear.
Feeling that you're getting. Is this your first day out in this area?
No, we were actually here last week doing something similar in a similar area in Columbus. So,
So, I want my conservative friends to hear what we're talking about. A lot of times we get information and see what's actually being said on the street one-on-one when you're talking to people about voting. So tell me why you think people should vote for John Ossoff, Mr. Warnock.
I think that John Ossoff and Warnock can do a good job in the Senate of delivering on a couple of key issues that I feel like the Republicans haven't so far. So, namely stuff related to the coronavirus relief fund that McConnell hasn't passed or looked at in the Senate, and then stuff related to the economy and jobs, and stuff related to health.
People are saying that McConnell wanted to pass the current bill, which they agreed upon tonight, the stimulus bill, the relief fund, in order to help Purdue and what's her name, the dumb Barbie girl, rich, really crazy, sociopathic. What's her name? I don't care. Loeffler? Yeah, Loeffler.
So what wasn't passed in the Senate by McConnell that is holding up the that they could do better? Because I think it had a lot to do with just both sides of the House not coming together and agreeing on some things in that relief bill. Is that true?
So the House actually passed multiple really large bills for relief. I think the final one that Pelosi put on McConnell's desk was for about $1.8 trillion. And McConnell, after they confirmed ACB, called a recess in the Senate, and they just
slow down a little bit. You're talking fast. You're from California.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
We're from the South, but we talk slower.
It seemed like
Shut down.
there was
Debate
a
tactic number one, shut down.
lot of money that was coming out of the House that the Senate didn't want to put up to a vote. And that was really disappointing. So,
All right, so inside of that bill, do you know everything that was in there? That's this street. That's bad. And see, you don't want to yell at some of these folks because you don't know what's going to pop. All right, so...
You don't want to yell at some of these folks because you don't know what's going to pop. Really interesting. So that's a big dog whistle right there.
What do you know everything that was in that bill? What did everything in that bill have to do with the coronavirus? Because you're particularly picking out the coronavirus. I'm just asking you.
no, I don't think any individual congressperson or lawmaker is familiar with every single thing in a particular bill.
All right, so I'm going to say that I am familiar with what's in that, and there was a lot of fat of things that didn't have anything to do with that and that would end up
So
costing.
this is so hard because she heard about this on Facebook. So if you're a normal liberal-minded person and you come across her, you lost the argument because she's going to come at you confidently with a bunch of freaking phrases and buzzwords she heard on Facebook. And if you do not know everything about the legislative process, you cannot disprove her bullshit. It's very difficult. And people do this all of the time. They come at you confidently. And if you are not, well-versed in politics, they're going to defeat you.
Taxpayers a whole lot more money. So being
That's how
fiscally
Tim Pool made Destiny look like a little boy on Timcast IRL.
responsible with
He kept on
McConnell
going in circles and bringing up a bunch of anecdotes.
looking after that. He said, we needed to come back to the table and trim some of that out. That needed to come in another form of funding, not like for the arts. And
So I guess when you talk about passing major legislation through Congress, there's usually a lot of riders and stuff attached because it's hard to get individual legislation passed. Something that I'm interested about is it seems very strange to use the fiscal responsibility argument when Trump has ran some of the largest budget deficits in U.S. history. I don't understand why it's such a big deal to pass some type of stimulus, but it's okay to spend so much more money on tax cuts to large corporations.
all right, tell me, you're from California, right?
Yeah.
Instant pivot. The moment you disprove one anecdote, one thing they don't actually know about, they'll pivot to another talking point until they find one they can pin you on, and until they find one that you cannot confidently respond to.
State is in a terrible state. I mean, with money, with homelessness, with drug abuse, with prostitution.
Well, I think drug abuse right now is a huge problem in a lot of red states in the Midwest, which is actually originally where I'm from, Nebraska. So things like meth.
You're from Nebraska, yeah.
Yeah, that's where I lived for 30 years.
We have some meth issues everywhere. Let's just say from that.
Mainly in the Midwest.
So Nancy Pelosi's
Pivot.
district, almost every Democrat from the House, the Senate, Congress, their districts are in terrible trouble and very poor.
Republican ones are hurting too, but yeah.
So how many Republicans do we have? Let's compare. How many people from California's districts are majorities that are hurting? I mean, I'm just saying you're in Georgia talking about why we should vote for these folks. So you got to answer
I think
that.
that we have a vested interest in the entire United States of getting a Democrat agenda passed legislatively. That's what I'm interested in. Because it seems like after several years of Trump, it doesn't seem like we got very much help related to the coronavirus stuff or anything related to
Did he
healthcare.
get that vaccine put through pretty quickly that's going to save a lot of lives?
I don't think he personally researched it, but yeah, the vaccines have made tremendous progress. It would have been nice if he took it seriously a little bit earlier. Maybe we could have pushed that along a little bit.
So how earlier would that have been once we found out?
So probably around the time that he banned travel from China, and when the United States waited about a month and a
But
half.
he got criticized for banning people traveling from China right
Donald
away.
Trump is the president of the United States. He should be able to handle
Yeah,
a little
because
bit.
he only banned people from China while calling it the Chinese virus. When the virus was already located all over the world, he only banned travel from China. And the virus was literally in a boat on our coast and in the U.S., and Trump still pretended it wasn't real.
of criticism.
Everybody should.
Remember the cruise ship that was stranded off of the coast of, I think, California, and all the people on the ship got infected with COVID? Nobody knew what the hell was going on.
Sure.
Absolutely.
So there was about a month and a half period after we banned travel from China, between China and Europe, where the United States wasn't able to get testing or anything off the ground. And it seems like we could have done a little bit more during that time.
So are you excited about the coronavirus vaccine? Are you going to take it?
Yeah, I definitely will.
And you're going to take it too? Absolutely. So we're at a good place because that is historic, record-breaking time to get a vaccine out there. And most of the people that pass away from it or from the flu did not meet the numbers that we meet from flu, the regular flu dying every year, but elderly, with people with diabetes, people with obesity, they had other complications. So
even more of a reason to take
exactly.
the virus
But
very
you know what
seriously.
they just said? What Biden's going to pass when as soon as he gets in, that minorities are going to get first priority to get the
I
vaccination.
don't think that minorities are going to. I think it's probably going to go to health responders and healthcare providers first. before
They
anything
should.
else.
It's
sure
military,
that's
military
what's gonna
too. Military too.
Okay,
no.
what far-right conspiracy site floated the thing that minorities were going to be first in line for the COVID vaccine? Because I saw this shit absolutely everywhere. It spreads like a wildfire, and they all reiterate the same exact talking points. So I'm wondering where the source info is from. What white nationalist site is a hold of a popular Facebook page on Facebook that has a lot of boomers on it?
Military needs it first, but I know that our first
They will.
responders
Yeah,
and the healthcare.
they have
people
to because they
definitely
travel.
need it. Okay.
So they will have to have that first. They will start having theirs in January. So okay, we
Tucker
obviously
Carlson.
disagree on a lot of things.
Oh,
You
wait,
said that you
Tucker Carlson? You mean based pog, class warrior, Tucker Carlson? Oh my god, he was so based on his corporations take. He said corporations is bad. Oh my god, Tucker, you're better than Joe Biden, like so many people on the left do. Whenever Tucker Carlson says one populist thing on freaking Twitter. Then he goes on a freaking white nationalist rant like a second later.
Biden is the best for the nation. You think for Georgians, and you're from Atlanta, so you would say that, you know, you felt that same way too. So how did you come to be volunteers to take this on? Was it something that was a passion with yourselves that you felt that strongly to go to the party and say, I want to do this, or did they come looking for you?
It's definitely a passion project, and then we've organized this with basically a bunch of friends. And yeah.
Okay. So how have you felt about knocking on doors, even on this street so far? I mean, people been friendly, receptive? What are you getting?
Are incredibly friendly. Yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
We haven't had pretty much anybody be rude to us.
No rude interactions or anything.
I knock on these doors all the time. Now, there are going to be a few places, but you guys, you know. So, a lesson learned
There's going to be a few places, you know, where the blacks live, apparently. This lady only cares about that.
for everybody out on the street. What kind of lessons have you learned? I mean, how long have you been doing this? Are you just getting here? Or?
It's like our second or third week doing this. So between the two of us, we probably knocked on maybe 200 houses, I think. So not too much yet.
Wait,
but,
did Hassan really
I
say
think-
that? Did Hassan really say that Tucker is pretty based? When? Is that the recent one? That recent Tucker clip that went viral about the billionaires profiting during the pandemic?
A really overwhelmingly positive experience so far.
Yeah,
So what do you think about the fraud in the voting, especially in Fulton County, what they're finding? What do you think about the video where they actually found the people committing the fraud? What do you think about that?
Is this the one with the ballots that were slid underneath the desk?
All of them, every
so
film.
All of those have been reviewed by Donald Trump's own federal judge picks, and all of them have ubiquitously come back as not being fraudulent. It seems like we get a lot of clips that are out of context that are posted.
What
on
if I
places like
told you
Twitter.
that those people that reviewed were the people that were actually had deals with Dominion and were paid off?
If that's true, I would be
You would
even
not,
more
baby.
upset. if
Concerned
Donald
as an
Trump was the
American?
well, I'd be upset with the president because they were in charge of a lot of these federal judiciary picks, and if their picks are dropping the ball, I mean, that was like one of the most important jobs delegated to the executive branch. So if they're not able to do those jobs of reviewing those cases correctly, that's even more worrisome, I think, for the current president, and a stronger argument for another
So
one to be in there.
how high of education do both of you have?
I'm a college dropout.
You're a college, and you're same. What level did you get to?
Year 2 or 3. I was working, so my last couple of years were pretty
What
rough.
was your major?
I wanted to major in music.
Music, really? What kind of music?
I play saxophone, and I wanted to do a composition.
So you're very artsy in that way. You have that. My son's a musician. I'm just asking. And you?
I was an English major. Yeah, my parents met they were just over the line for significant hope, and so I had to work and go to school full time. Couldn't handle it, so I had to drop out.
Okay.
Yep.
So would you say that hate Trump syndrome is a real illness? I mean, that people really just hate, like, that's a horrible word, but do they hate him? I don't hate Biden. I'm just
sure
saying
there are
I
people that do
don't
hate
hate
Trump, but I mean, there are people that hate all sorts of political figures.
I-
I mean,
yeah.
we're in 2020, and I'm
It's
still
a
hearing
diff-
news about Hillary and Obama. So
Do you feel like it's politics is a sport?
for a lot of people, yeah, for sure.
So sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
I think so.
Yeah, but unfortunately,
Sometimes you got to sing the blues.
Yeah, but the stakes are very high right now. But yeah,
They
sometimes
are.
you win and sometimes you lose. Yeah, of course.
Okay. So how did you
Yeah,
travel?
so next in line for the vaccines, shit, I can't talk. Vaccines, it came out today that the next in line are older people over the age of 75 and frontline workers. So first, all the assholes in Congress got it. I don't count like Bernie or like the good ones, but like Marco Rubio got it. Who else? All of them got it. All the COVID deniers. McConnell got it. Lindsey Graham got it. So
all the way from California.
now all the poorest can get it, which is better.
Paid your fare and all of that to get here.
I paid myself.
You bought your own ticket here.
Mhm.
You came to Georgia because of the runoff.
Yep.
Okay, so you felt like this runoff was that important that you needed to be present.
Yes.
All right. So going forward, because we feel like the Republican conservatives are going to win this election. So, and we are eyeballs on everything. Going forward, you go back to California, you go back to Atlanta to your life, and you wait for the next election. What do you do?
I don't know. I
Damn,
talk about
dude.
politics.
Lenny in chat, dude. He hates college dropouts. Wow. You are so elitist. So you have to go to college to be good to you? Oh my goodness. These freaking elitist Republicans hating the working class man, struggling with student loan debt. Crazy. Wow.
A lot. It's a big part of what I do and who I am. I'll probably follow elections all throughout the country and continue to do
You ever
so.
think about running?
Man and women, by the way. I meant man by the biblical terms of all man. My bad. Mankind. Humankind. Personhood. Yes.
For office?
Maybe. I don't know if I would be that's as fulfilling for me or if I would enjoy that as much. So
If you ever say a word that's unacceptable in society, just say you're using the biblical term. You're using the biblical version of it.
You're not sure. You like working this kind of way with it, right?
Yeah, maybe this is fun.
Okay. So you're being honest with me about not being paid. You said you're both volunteers, right? You are not being paid to do this. I mean, your accommodations are not being paid?
Absolutely.
You're paying your own hotel, paying for your own food to do this.
Yep.
Guys. Serious?
Okay, so when somebody joins a chat room and they say, I took out thousands of dollars and paid it all back, I'm a gay Latino from New York City. Yeah, this is definitely a really overweight white guy in a basement somewhere. He's really upset right now, but he's holding it in by using a lot of irony, which is really cool. And now he is officially blocked, which is also really cool.
Seriously? I mean, where do you have that much kind of money to do that, to travel like that? I mean...
Well, we're Democrats, I guess.
You're lucky.
Well, I mean, I know plenty of Republicans have money to do that too. They say that we're the white privilege. I'm just asking, you know.
Is the
So,
implication that you think that we wouldn't be out here otherwise if there wasn't some like nefarious force paying for us to come down here?
no,
or?
I'm just asking because there are.
Sure.
There
okay.
are.
On
So,
both
I
sides,
mean,
there's a
and
lot
it's
of money that
okay.
floats around in
There
terms
is a
of
lot of
certain
money
tax
that
and
floats
everything,
around, and
whether
it's an
Soros
honest
or
question.
Coke or- yeah, of course.
It's an honest question to ask that because, I mean, that can get expensive pretty
course.
quickly, you know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you thought about it, and have you run into any of the other people door knocking for the opposition?
No, I don't think we've seen any of them
I
out here
haven't
so
seen
far.
anybody door knocking.
Listen to our folks to do that because we're supposed. Freedom Works and some other organizations actually have people outdoor knocking all over Columbus
It might
too.
just be that we've missed them. Or
Yeah,
maybe
or maybe that
Democrats
you guys, when you go for the Democratic list to look at it, you're going to look at certain parts of this city, this county, and you're
Certain parts of the city, you're going to end up in the Democratic parts that happen to be, you know, more black. You know, it's real funny out here, you college kids from George Soros land.
going to see where the majority votes or whatever on that. But that's not always necessarily true. So what about, because my parents are both dead and they both got ballots, absentee
Well, it says that they
ballots.
didn't turn
Just
it.
because you receive ballots, and I think Destiny says this, doesn't mean they were actually counted. People think this is an actual point. Of course, many ballots are going to be mailed out and they're going to go to the wrong places. But when they get the ballots, they throw them out because every ballot is checked against the actual records. If you're dead, they're not going to count. The people who tried to vote, you know, with dead people's ballots were literally all caught.
I guess because that would be voter fraud. So
Oh no, I destroyed them. But yeah, I mean, there is voter fraud. It's always been at every election. There's voter fraud.
So hard to find any. They haven't found
So what about Dominion? I'm telling you, election night, I watched the
Here's
numbers
The real
flip.
question is, we knew those Dominion machines were going to be used prior to any election.
I
Why are we
know.
only complaining about them after Donald Trump lost 4 or 5 key states?
Okay, so why did Hillary complain after she lost?
Hillary seated the next day. She conceded immediately. When
She did?
She has so many arguments programmed into her head. It really is so hard to fire back on it. People ask me IRL, I said IRL, in real life all the time. How am I supposed to argue against these points? And I don't have time to teach people a 30-minute lesson on how to respond back to all of these freaking claims, all these anecdotal stories these people see on Facebook, because they say it confidently. It's the Dunning-Kruger effect, over and over and over and over again. They say it confidently. They think they're so great. They have like really below average knowledge, but their confidence is through the roof. So somebody around here who has like average knowledge is gonna think they know nothing and have no confidence. So ladies like her and people like her in general are gonna come up to conversations knowing nothing, but they're confident in what they say. So by nature of how rhetoric works and argumentation, the person who has average knowledge, although it's more knowledge, they're not going to be so confident in what they say back to that person. So this person's always going to back down, and they're always going to lose the rhetoric battle, which is really freaking annoying. Oh my god. It's hard for me to deflect a lot of people because they're so freaking confident. And it's infectious to the people around them.
Yeah, but she
Donald
did.
Trump has carried this one for weeks now.
Yeah.
I don't think those are really comparable.
You know what? I think we can be a little bullish for the next 4 years and just, you know, take our point and go after it too. What about McCain's son and his issues?
McCain's son or Hunter Biden's?
I'm sorry,
You're talking about-
Biden's son. Right.
If Biden's son was running for president,
Oh,
I'd be
so sad. She has PTSD from Trump losing Arizona, bringing up McCain by
very
accident.
concerned. But if we were going to look at like nepotism or something, I think I would much more closely look at somebody like Ivanka Trump that's been scoring dozens of patents to do business in China, or the large sums of money that Trump owes, or the fact that Kushner is playing key roles in government. There's like so many different like.
Okay, but has any of them
nepotism.
have any trails of money that they found like him? Do they have any definite proof of any
Well, I
of that?
don't
What
think
you
we've
just
99.99999% of people could not respond to this freaking accusation about Joe Biden.
said, you just listed off some names. They've been business people for a long time.
Yeah, but business people.
Well, she's using the Socratic method of him, right? Or he can fire it back. You know, she is making the claims, so keep on asking her questions. But she is confident. She'll keep on saying, like, oh, Joe Biden made money here, in China, in Ukraine, you know, in all these countries, and Hunter Biden did it too. And how do you respond to that? You literally just have to say, Trump's kids are corrupt as well, and try to move on to a different point that you can actually get her on.
Jewelry
Isn't that kinda
business.
weird? I don't know if I want like the president like to have a huge business and be making U.S.
Why?
policy at the same time. Well, it seems like there'd be like a mighty conflict.
He
of
doesn't.
interest
He
there.
gives up every bit of his salary. Is
his-
Biden going to do that?
I don't know, but I don't. Having somebody that gives up their salary just means they have so much money coming in from other places they don't need the salary. There's
I
a
think it's
reason
an
why-
honest. I think it's honest to do that.
It's totally the opposite.
Because he has money. He said, I'm not going to take this. I'm going to give it back to the American people.
Thinking he's being somewhat altruistic, but the reality is that he's.
So he can't
benefiting.
really be altruistic?
Well, he could be.
I mean,
Oh my God, 1350 arguments on systemic racism. If you literally just keep on asking questions about that, they will literally go to a genetic explanation. Like, if you keep on saying how, like, that old argument, like, black culture is wrong, and you keep on pushing it, like, is it environment or is it genetic? Is it a product of them being inferior to you, or is it a product of their environment? And obviously, if it's environment, we can fix that. And what do you want to do to fix that if you really care about that issue? Oh my God, so many Trump supporters will fall down that friggin' trap. It works so beautifully. But then they back out of the conversation.
So, like, for instance, like divesting the interest.
Doing that works so much better than calling somebody racist. And people on the left need to understand that more. Like normal liberals, don't call somebody racist. Let them call themselves it, if that makes sense.
His company, not appointing family members to key positions
so
of government.
anybody that's a business person cannot be in office.
It makes it very hard to do so with the way that doesn't make you come off. So, for
So
instance,
John
like with,
Kerry-
You're
John-
supposed to divest your businesses. Like, there's the story about how Jimmy Carter sold his peanut farm, right?
Kerry, very wealthy man, right?
well, I don't
Vietnam
know that
vet, very, yeah, he was off of his wife's ketchup, the Heinz people. And then Biden, his wife,
John Kerry was influenced by Big Heinz. Imagine seriously making that argument.
and they went into other kinds of businesses that made errors along with
And I would
them.
hope that as he assumes the presidency,
Big
that they
ketchup.
divest their interest in those businesses, that they're no longer like fully invested.
You hope so. I hope
Yeah,
so
we hope
too.
so, yeah.
All right. Well, you know what, guys? It's been interesting to meet you. Thank you for your conversation. I hope that someone that you work for a volunteer employee got to see you today and how you perform
Okay.
out there doing that. I hope you have a safe trip back to California. I want you to get off of these streets before dark. I don't know how much more you intended to do down that way.
Sure.
I would say go back,
Okay.
go home for the evening.
Okay.
For
We're
that.
about due to quit anyway.
Yeah.
Be back by 5:30.
Yes, go eat at Country's Barbecue downtown, Macon. It's not downtown, it's Macon. And at the river, we are actually, if you go down Victory Drive and go all the way down to Chattahoochee River, that's all the college campus down there. It's their arts and music
It
department.
really is such a mix between hospitality and condescension. It's really interesting how she toes the line between those two things, right? Because she's so, hospitable, like, hey, go eat here, go to this part of town. But then she turns around and says, who is paying you to be here? Or like, are you being paid to be here? Or, saying, oh, don't go to that part of the town. Oh, watch out around here. You never know what's gonna pop off. Oh yeah, your list says Democratic areas, so you're gonna be in a certain kind of area. Watch your back. It's a mix between those two things. Really interesting.
I'll keep that in mind.
It's all that. They're
I'm curious. Can I ask you a pointed question? I'm so
Sure,
curious.
go ahead.
Okay. So, when it comes to stuff like the voter fraud,
Uh-huh.
right, and the voter fraud thing exists, so why is it that all of Trump's judges, all of the other governors, all of the states that are recounting, the Department of Homeland Security Cyber Crimes Division, the FBI, the NSA, even Barr that Trump fired, all of these people have said there's
Did
no
Barr
voter
have a relationship with that was with Biden earlier on and had actually been invested in Dominion?
If he had been, then why did Donald Trump make
Did
an
he not know
information
that?
anyway? Why wouldn't Donald Trump know that?
I
He's
don't know.
access to more
Those
information than
that
any
is
individual
that's a
needs.
curious question. And so when we here's how I
Curious
go with
question.
it. Here's how I roll in my head with it, because we're all like spinning. Everybody's head spinning. From Biden's side to spinning, Trump's side to spinning. It's like we all ask that. Why didn't he? Could he do anything till it actually played itself
do you
out?
think that, like, it's
But wait a minute,
possible?
I'm going to answer your question.
Yeah, okay.
You said so. I believe that when you are going to drain the swamp of career politicians that have been in office 40 some years, which I believe in term limits because it breeds corruption to get them out of there. Biden's had 40 some years to be a politician to make something happen or doing. I don't know anything amazing he's done.
The Violence Against Women Act, which reduced the amount of violence that women suffer.
He didn't pass that act.
He absolutely did. It was the most important provision of the crime.
Oh my god, that reminds me. One of my favorite arguments from Trump is when he complained about Biden passing the crime bill and hurting African Americans, and in the same sentence, criticized Biden for wanting to defund the police, although Biden doesn't want to. So, in the same exact statement, Trump would criticize Biden for both overfunding and defunding the police. And that really gives me a chuckle. Whenever I tell people about that, they usually think it's funny too. Like, Joe Biden funded the police so much in the 90s, and now he wants to defund it. Oh my god, it's so funny.
He didn't write that bill.
Huh?
He didn't write the bill.
He absolutely did. It was the one thing that he championed. He was also one of the first legislators.
Someone wrote it for him and he signed it.
No,
he did not write it.
He was also one of the first legislators to bring any sort of climate change awareness to the Senate as well. And he was an important person.
Are you really worried about climate change?
Well, I am, because I have to live through it, yeah. And my son has to live through it, yeah.
Okay. Well, I do too. So, yeah. I don't think there's anybody that wouldn't agree we need to pay attention to those things. Well, I think we can come together. I mean, he's passed some pretty important bills that really protect that too. I think maybe you do your homework on those.
Protections from the EPA.
All right, but I'm going to go.
Trump had a list of 100 generational climate policies that he wanted to get rescinded as president. So these policies dated back to, I think, 1990 or the beginning of Clinton's administration. Trump had this list of 100 policies, and he got to rolling back, I think, 80 of them. He did his best to make sure our national parks could be used for drilling. He defunded every environmental agency he could. Trump has probably been the worst president for the environment, probably since we thought it was an issue, environmentalism in general. When it comes to his really bad and really economically bad He held up the coal industry, and the coal industry is still collapsing. Terrible industry. Coal is the most backwards thing to ever chase, unless if you're a developing nation, then you might have some worth in that. And they make that argument about energy independence, but Trump encouraged fracking, like I said, in these areas, and invested in no green energy. Worst environment president of all time, probably.
Go back to your question.
Sure, okay.
Draining the swamp. I think getting rid of career politicians, because once you've been in so long, we don't have fresh eyes, we don't have fresh, so like yourself, you're fresh. You got a fresh mind. You got your own mind. I hope you do. I see that you guys both do. So when you have to drain the swamp, when you have to get in and get career politicians up again so they have a chance, he's had a chance to serve the public. He's almost 80 years old. He'll be 80 years old serving. He obviously has, I do not hate the man. I don't have any Biden hate syndrome or anything. I'm very pro-life. You've seen my sticker on my car. Kamala Harris is infanticide. I think Biden needs to be excommunicated from the church if he accepts her as his running mate. These are my strengths. This is where I come from. You asked me where I come from.
If somebody literally thinks abortion is like murder, there's probably no way to ever get to that person.
I'm telling you where I come from.
Catholic, so
Yes. Okay, I am too. So I say, I went to Catholic Catholic schools. So if the Catholic Church is even becoming divided lately because we have a socialist pope.
Well, the problem is that a lot of Catholics don't remember
Socialist
any of the
pope.
Bible that they've studied. They actually follow through any of the Gospels.
And I'm not going to debate you on that because I understand we don't learn the Bible the same way a lot of other religions do. We can't quote Bible like a lot of other people do. Mike Pence quoted.
Oh no, she probably doesn't read the Bible. She might be what's that one religion where you sing in tongues? Oh my god, I forget the name. Pentecostal, that's one of them. You go and you speak in tongues. I don't know if anybody ever saw that, but it's pretty interesting. Here's the link, by the way. Well, here's the article about the climate policies. 2 billion metric tons of greenhouse gases extra by 2035 because of what Trump has done to climate policy.
The Bible the other day.
General understanding of how Scripture is written and the idea behind Jesus and God. And
No, I'm saying there is a way to get people who are anti-abortion, but if you literally think abortion is 100% murder, it's no different from going and shooting somebody, then there's probably no way to convince that person. But if you're really pro-life, there is a way to convince people hey, being pro-choice means you can be pro-life as well. I would say to somebody politically, I am pro-choice and pro-life. If I had an instance where somebody got pregnant, I would encourage them to have the baby if she wanted to and help them do that. Being pro-choice and pro-life. And as a man, I don't really have a say in that, obviously. But like pro-choice, pro-life, you could be pro-choice and pro being more liberating with that, or more like accepting of it to like certain dates or whatever. Like you could be pro-choice and be literally anything. It just means you don't want the government to intervene in this process whatsoever.
And it seems like we've moved, at least the Republican Party seems to have strayed pretty far away from that.
But back to my point.
Back to your point.
Biden should be excommunicated.
Biden should be excommunicated from the church. Imagine thinking Donald Trump is a freaking real like Christian and thinking Joe Biden isn't.
Do not care for Kamala at all because of her very, very strong, she doesn't have children, so she doesn't really know. I mean, the way she feels about killing children is babies. Full-term babies,
Yeah, I don't think anybody believes
killing
in
them.
that.
She does.
Nobody believes in that.
She's okay with that.
Nobody's okay with it.
Who? Kamala, how are you saying nobody?
Because she's not. I don't think anybody's okay with it.
Prove to me how Kamala is not. When she said...
Okay, so this is one big lie spread on social media now about the anti-abortion, or to the anti-choice crowd. The anti-choice crowd. So they literally think Democrats are supporting abortions up to when babies are actually born. And some think that Democrats want abortions after the baby is actually born. So, in a weird way, they actually made our arguments work better, because some Republicans have such a crazy image in their minds of what Democrats want to do with abortion and with pro-choice laws. Like saying you can abort a baby a week before it's born or whatever. Or at that point it's a baby, but like a fetus in general at a certain time. If you explain to them, like, no, most people literally mean like by second trimester you can do it, by the end of the second trimester, then a lot of people I talk to actually get walked down from the radical ledge because of how far they actually went on that argument and lying to people. When you show people Democrats' actual policies around it, they seem a little bit more receptive to it.
she is okay with that. I've heard her interviewed.
Statements that people have made is that if a full-term abortion...
Then why doesn't she come back out and make that, clarify that then?
Because if full-term abortions are necessary, that's a decision that should probably be left between a mother and a doctor. A mother that's probably...
Why would a full-term a baby need to be murdered?
Well, you said you have 2 children, right? I have a child of my own. There are lots of complications that can arise.
I had very much a complication with mine. I would have never done something like that.
That's awesome, and I'm so glad that you had the ability to make that decision without the government coming in and telling you which decision you had.
Yeah, but they shouldn't come in and tell you that, we need to kill this baby either, because it's a...
That's not, that decision isn't up to
You
the
can't control every one of those
government.
decisions.
Of course not, but you're the one that wants to control.
Government wants to get in there and control
You're
that.
the one that wants to control.
All right,
it, though.
so who do you think what babies are killed more than anybody? Who's aborted?
I wonder if is it African American babies?
Lots of black babies. So
right
black
down
lives
this
do matter. Hello.
The old Kanye argument. Abortions are a plot to make sure the black population doesn't grow big enough to be a political force. That's the big Kanye argument, right? That abortions are doing that. Who also said that? What conspiracy theorist is that from? Does anybody know?
Black lives matter, but not when you kill babies. Over and over and over and over again. So
I think you should
where I
increase the
come from
amount
on
of
this,
sex
and
education, the amount of contraception available.
I've taught
and a
sex
lot of
ed.
people-
I don't have a problem with
We
that.
should do stuff like
So I have, my opinion is seasoned, long-term, way too long in there, need to go. Biden has been in there way too long. Kamala Harris hasn't proved one damn thing in California that she's done right. I wouldn't want to mimic that
Kamala
state.
Harris had a was it the Jump Start program?
Yeah,
I
she
think
likes
that
felons
did?
to get out of prison so they can kill more people. I'm
think she
debating
does
with you
that.
now.
Well,
All right.
She actually was in charge of some things that ended up deporting people that a lot of people on the left are upset at her for. But it's interesting the different realities, I guess.
It is. But you stepped into our world, so I'm asking you, and I'm not disrespecting you.
So Kamala Harris gets a lot of flack because she made it so that if any illegal immigrant was even charged with a crime, they
She's
could be
quiet.
referred to ICE
She's
and
there.
deported-
She's quiet. She's listening.
They could be deported back out of the United States. So I mean, Kamala Harris has gotten a lot of flack for being a little bit too tough on crime.
Don't like her. Would never vote for her. Biden doesn't bother me, except that he's way too old and he is a career politician. He's been in there too long. He's
Yeah,
too.
Biden is a white male, so therefore he bothers her less than Kamala, of course.
old to make these choices. He stumbles. He can't even read without a teleprompter now. He tried. He hid in the basement for a long, but it's very hard and sad
By
to
sex ed, she means you have to ask Jesus for consent. Yes, I agree.
watch that man struggle. And
I think
and his
you've
wife
seen
really,
both him and Trump talk
he's
to each
not
other.
going to be in
I
there
think
very
they
long.
can
You know
talk-
that.
he
You know
only has to
Kamala's
make it
going to
4
try to
years.
step
Even if
up.
he only makes it 1 year, I would take Kamala Harris, I think, over the disastrous presidency of Donald Trump so far. So.
Oh God! Look, just because someone is a color or a race doesn't mean that the first of them is going to be what we need and it's right for everybody.
He
I think
didn't
Kamala
even
Harris
say
wouldn't be
that.
the first, but-
I would vote for Condoleezza Rice in a heartbeat. I would
or
vote
maybe
for.
Colin Powell, I don't know.
I mean, Colin Powell, we loved here at Fort Benning for many, many years, okay? And he was a Republican for many years, you know. I mean, there are people of all colors that are deserving and legit. We need fresh people, fresh eyes, fresh sets on things. Coming from a business world, there's so much more to offer. I mean, when we're running a country
God,
like
coming from a business world, what do you think she does? Like a hair salon or something? She looks like she runs the hair salon. Judging by her looks right there. Pretty stylish, you know? For her age.
business.
But we don't run the country like a business. That's the problem.
We need to.
I agree that there's.
But why does everybody need a handout? Why does everybody need a handout?
Some people start off really far behind.
But they get addicted to the system, and they don't do
I
them.
don't think anybody wants to be addicted to the system. I think people generally want to work and provide for their families, but like some people get left really far behind, like right out of the gate. I think that's pretty sad.
All right. Well, if there's anything you would like to add, I'm going to wind this up. All right, young people, I need you to stay in tune, stay in touch, stay on the ground, but really listen to other people's side too. Okay. I mean, you were obviously built for this. You're able to speak quickly and talk about what you like. I don't agree with anything you said, but as a teacher and a person,
As a teacher?
a human American, I wanted to talk to you, and I thank you for taking the time to do that with me.
Yeah, they give a little pat on the back to themselves when they can have an actual conversation with people without screaming. They do that with when they watch like Joe Rogan. They do that too. By the way, this freaking Jimmy Dore stuff has changed people. My comment section. So the Democratic have lost so many seats. The squad can hold their votes for speaker. AOC is not going to push for Medicare for all. She has sold us out for big pharma and for profit health. Yes. Sorry. Pretty lame video. Get that you don't like Dore, but take a step back and assess. This is a great idea, and it's very revealing about progressives in Congress. Okay.